This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation.
Precisely 6:45. This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. News edited by Danushka Madhavala and read by Sharifa Tahir. Headlines. China firmly supports Sri Lanka at the UNHRC session. The Premier briefs IPU Secretary General about proposed steps for strengthening participatory democracy. The multi-sector combined mechanism launched to ensure food security and nutrition. The Health Ministry points out that the health sector of the country is strong enough to continuously provide medicine and treatment needed by the patients. RMV to extend validity period of driving licenses. In foreign news, the Queen's coffin has arrived at Buckingham Palace. Local news in detail. Permanent representative of China to the UN office at Geneva, Ambassador Chen Zhu, on September 12th, openly spoke for Sri Lanka and opposed external interference during the interactive dialogue on the island nation at the 51st session of the UN Human Rights Council. Ambassador Chen stressed that China appreciates Sri Lanka's continued efforts in enhancing and protecting its human rights, especially in reconciliation, reconstruction, and counter-terrorism. As a traditional friendly neighbor of Sri Lanka, China firmly supports Sri Lanka in safeguarding national sovereignty and independence, maintaining social stability, and realizing economic recovery. We believe that the Sri Lankan government is able to lead the people to overcome temporary difficulties. The Chinese envoy emphasized that the UNHRC's resolution on China is a product of politicization. It does not abide by the principles of impartiality, objectivity, and non-selectivity. It has not been recognized by Sri Lanka, the country concerned, and has not played a constructive role in promoting and protecting human rights in Sri Lanka. Interparliamentary Union Secretary General Martin Chungong and Senior Program Officer Lawrence Marzell held discussions with Prime Minister Dinesh Gunawardena about the issues pertaining to parliamentary democratic practices in Sri Lanka at the Prime Minister's office in Colombo on Monday. The Prime Minister elaborated the steps taken to strengthen participatory democracy by the establishment of more powerful and strong sectoral oversight committees, which included public participation. He also expressed satisfaction over the agreement reached on the formation of the National Council with the participation of all political parties of the House for the purpose of policy guidance and prioritization of matters of national interest. The Premier also told the IPU delegation that Sri Lanka parliamentary debates are open on live television and is important to keep the public informed of the activities of Parliament. The IPU Secretary General commended the efforts made by the government in responding to the needs and demands of the people. He also highlighted the importance of youth participation and their involvement in national debate. Mr. Chungong also emphasized on the need to strengthen the participation of women in politics and other vulnerable groups to ensure inclusive governance. The multi-sector mechanism to empower rural economic revitalization centers to ensure food security and nutrition was initiated under the patronage of President Ranil Wickremesinghe. The President's Media Division yesterday said the vision of the food security program of the government is to ensure every citizen has access to enough food at a reasonable price to lead an active and healthy life at any given situation of the country. The government has initiated this program with a view of achieving dual objectives of ensuring that no citizen of the country should starve due to lack of food and no child should be a victim of malnutrition. The relevant mechanism has been implemented through 7 committees, while the National Food Security and Nutrition Council will function under the chairmanship of the President. This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation giving you the news.
People's Bank Online Corporate Banking. Imagine business anywhere.
Continuing with more stories here at home, the Ministry of Health points out that the health sector of the country is strong enough to continuously provide medicine and treatment needed by the patients in spite of the economic condition of the country. Priority has been given to the Ministry of Health when providing financial allocations. The Secretary to the Ministry, Janaka Sri Chandragupta, stated that the ministry pays attention to the provision of medicine and medicinal equipment. He further said that sufficient allocations for the years 2022 and 2023 have been made to the ministry. These details were revealed at a press conference held at the Health Ministry. The Department of Motor Traffic has decided to extend the validity period of driving licenses issued for a period of 6 months to a period of 1 year. Accordingly, Department of Motor Traffic mentioned that the public should visit either the district offices of the RMB or the Verahara office in Colombo in order to extend the validity period of licenses. Upon visiting, the licenses issued for a period of 6 months will be granted an extension of up to 1 year. Meanwhile, steps have been taken to issue driving license cards only to new license holders looking forward to going abroad, the department said. That's local news for the moment.
Imagine if you could maintain a firm hold of your operations from anywhere. People's Bank Online Corporate Banking. Imagine business anywhere.
The main news story is brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
Acting Cabinet spokesman, Plantation Industries Minister Dr. Ramesh Patirana said that the Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank has pledged to provide funds to purchase of essential medicines and medicinal equipment. Addressing the weekly cabinet media briefing held yesterday at the Government Information Department, Minister Patirana said that after considering the foreign exchange crisis faced by the country, AIIB has agreed to provide funds amounting to $100 million immediately by revising the scope of the project to assist Colombo Urban Regeneration Project and the reduction of landslide vulnerability by mitigation measures project funded by the bank.
The main news story was brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
And on Watchlight, the Secretary to the Ministry of Public Administration says 19th of September has been declared a special holiday for all government institutions. In a circular, Mr. MMPK Mayaduna said this holiday should not cause any hindrance to the delivery of essential services of the government. That's on Watchlight. Moving on to World News headlines. The Queen's coffin has arrived at the Buckingham Palace. China's Xi to meet Putin in first foreign trip since the pandemic. A study says switching to renewable energy could save trillions. Moving on to World News in detail. The Queen's coffin has arrived at the Buckingham Palace and was greeted by members of the royal family. It will move on Wednesday to Westminster Hall, where the Queen will lie in state for 4 days. The Queen's daughter, the Princess Royal, has issued a statement saying she was fortunate to share the last 24 hours of her dearest mother's life. Hundreds of thousands of people are expected to file past the coffin to pay their respects, with a huge policing operation expected. King Charles III and Camilla, the Queen Consort, are now in London, earlier visited Northern Ireland as part of a tour of the UK. They greeted crowds at Hillsborough Castle, met political leaders and attended a service at St Anne's Cathedral. China's leader Xi Jinping is set to meet Russia's Vladimir Putin on his first trip overseas since the start of the coronavirus pandemic in early 2020. The two will meet on the sidelines of a major regional summit in Uzbekistan. It comes at a crucial moment for both countries. Mr. Xi is seeking a historic third term, while Mr. Putin's relations with the West are at rock bottom over Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Now, the Beijing and Moscow have offered further details on the talks. Mr. Xi will begin his three-day trip in Kazakhstan on Wednesday. He will then meet Mr. Putin on Thursday at the Shanghai Cooperation Organization Summit in Samarkand, which will run from 15th to the 16th of September. Central Asian countries, Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, and fellow members Iran, India, and Pakistan are also due to attend. Finally, on world news, an Oxford University study switching from fossil fuels to renewable energy could save the world as much as 12 trillion by 2050. The report said it was wrong and pessimistic to claim that moving quickly towards clean energy sources was expensive. Gas prices have soared on mounting concerns over energy supplies. But the researchers say that going green now makes economic sense because of the falling cost of renewables. Professor Doan Farmer from the Institute of New Economic Thinking at the Oxford Martin School told that even if you're a climate denier, you should be on board with what we're advocating. Our central conclusion is that we should go full speed ahead with the green energy transition because it's going to save us money, he said. That's on world news. Moving on to development news. The Sri Lanka Korea Business Council of the Ceylon Chamber of Commerce recently conducted a business operations and experience sharing interactive session to commemorate 45 years of diplomatic relations between the two countries. Noting the robust bilateral partnership in many countries and many areas, including economic, trade, investment, labor, cultural and education cooperation, the chief guest ambassador of the Republic of Korea in Sri Lanka, Santosh Wonjin-yong, said Korea looks forward to a renewed, rejuvenated and remarkable chapter of bilateral ties for the next 45 years.
Sports News is brought to you by...
With many values that bind us beyond the transaction, we are Sampath Bank. We present your future.
In soccer, missed chances by Robert Lewandowski on his return to Bayern Munich proved costly as his Barcelona side lost in Germany. Outplayed in the first half, Bayern blew their Spanish opponents away after the break with goals from Lucas Hernandez and Leroy Sane. Hernandez headed in at the near post after 50 minutes before Sane clipped home to seal the win shortly after. Lewandowski spurned a number of clear openings in an entertaining match. The victory puts Bayern Munich in control of Group C with 6 points from 2 games. That's on Soccer News.
The fastest way to earn the highest interest from NSB, now extended till the 30th of September just for you. Your short-term deposits receive an attractive interest rate of 20% in 3 months and 22% in 7 months. Visit a bank branch or a main postal office today. NSB, the only bank with 100% government guarantee.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
And on business news, Twitter's shareholders have voted to approve a deal with Elon Musk to buy the company for $44 billion. The decision was made in a short conference call with investors from the company's San Francisco headquarters. It means Twitter will now try to force Elon Musk to buy the company in the courts. The meeting followed explosive testimony from Twitter's former head of security, Peter Zatko, in front of the U.S. Senate. In April, Twitter agreed to sell the company to the world's richest person, Elon Musk.
Business News, sponsored by...
The fastest way to earn the highest interest from NSB, now extended till the 30th of September just for you. Your short-term deposits receive an attractive interest rate of 20% in 3 months and 22% in 7 months. Visit a bank branch or a main postal office today. NSB, the only bank with 100% government guarantee.
And And on economic news, the approval of the cabinet has been granted to appoint a 5-member cabinet subcommittee to take expeditious decisions on economic revival and development. The subcommittee will comprise of the president, the prime minister, and members of the cabinet and ministers, taking into account the need for measures to revive and develop the country's economy in the face of the crisis situation. The cabinet has approved the proposal tabled by President Ranil Wickremesinghe. That's on economic news. And finally, on to the weather update. The Met Department forecasts that a few showers will occur in Western and Sabaragamu provinces and in Kandy Nuwara, Galle and Matra districts. Mainly fair weather will prevail elsewhere over the island. Before we wind up this bulletin of news, back to the headlines. China firmly supports Sri Lanka at UNHRC session. The Premier briefs IPU Secretary General about proposed steps for strengthening participatory democracy. The multi-sector combined mechanism launched to ensure food security and nutrition. The Health Ministry points out that the health sector of the country is strong enough to continuously provide medicine and treatment needed by the patients. RMB to extend validity period of driving licenses. In foreign, the Queen's coffin has arrived at Buckingham Palace. With that, we conclude this morning bulletin of news.